Big Ten has the chance to be the best conference in all of college basketball this year, and with new faces and multiple national championship contenders, the league could be in for a historic season. And with the season tipping off in almost a week, we are ranking every college basketball team in the Big Ten. But before we jump into our rankings, if you enjoyed the content, please consider dropping a like on the video and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And now, let's jump into it. And starting off our rankings and coming in at number 18 is Rutgers, and after a disappointing year with multiple 5-star freshmen on the roster, the Scarlet Knights entered this season looking to re-establish its identity. And with both Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey now gone to the NBA, this roster is short on proven firepower and offensive creation. Mid-major transfer Tariq Francis steps in as the likely lead guard, but major questions remain in the entire roster. But Steve Pikiell's program has always leaned on defense, and this team will need to do the same to stay competitive. And it's hard to see this group keeping up with the deeper, more talented opponents that you see in the Big Ten, and without a true paint protector or even a consistent scorer, Rutgers' ceiling and floor both look low and seem to be destined for the bottom of the conference standings. Coming in at number 17 is Penn State, who enters the season looking to rebuild after losing Yannick Conan Niederhauser late in the offseason to the NBA draft. And that loss leaves a huge role in one of the Big Ten's least proven frontcourts. Head coach Mike Rhodes will rely heavily on prize freshman Caden Mingo and returning guard Freddie Dillon to drive the offense, with both being capable of handling the ball and creating off the bounce. And the backcourt duo forms a solid foundation, but the roster's overall youth and lack of depth make the path to consistency steep. Defensively, Mingo's intensity does give Rhodes a new on-ball weapon, but without reliable bigs, Penn State could struggle against physical Big Ten teams, and I'm expecting some occasional flashes of brilliance and a few surprise wins from the Nittany Lions, but overall, this looks like another developmental year for Penn State. And at number 16, I have Minnesota, who enters a new era with Nico Medved taking over after his impressive run at Colorado State. The Golden Gophers roster is almost entirely rebuilt through the transfer portal, creating both intrigue and uncertainty for fans, and Medved's offensive system, built around spacing and movement, should fit this veteran group well, especially with versatile shooters like North Carolina transfer Cade Tyson, who looks poised for a breakout season. And Minnesota will rely heavily on cohesion, as most of these players are stepping up from mid-major programs, but Medved has a history of turning struggling teams into winners, but the Big Ten grind is another level, and this rebuild may take some more time than just a single offseason. But the Gophers should undoubtedly be more competitive and for sure better than last year. Northwestern comes in at number 15 and are led by last year's Big Ten scoring champion Nick Martinelli, who returns after averaging over 20 points per game a season ago. His ability to create offense keeps the Wildcats competitive, but replacing Brooks Barnheiser's production will be no small task. Point guard Jaden Reed adds quickness and flair to the backcourt, while sophomore KJ Wyndham is a breakout candidate for me after showing flashes late last season, and Chris Collins' system ensures Northwestern remains disciplined and efficient in half-court play, but their front-court depth and offensive balance are lingering questions. But as long as Martinelli stays healthy, Northwestern's floor remains solid, but there's still a lot of uncertainty around this roster, which keeps them lower in the Big Ten standings for me. And coming in at number 14 is Nebraska, who is looking to build off of a 21-14 campaign behind one of the Big Ten's most creative offensive coaches in Fred Hoiberg. The Cornhuskers lose star wing Bryce Williams, but return key pieces in Connor Esijan and a healthy Rink Mast, who should anchor the front court as a skilled pick-and-pop big and elite passer. Offensively, Nebraska will be sharp, with shooters like Esijan and Iowa transfer Price Samfort spacing the floor and Mast initiating from the high post. And Nebraska will be a tricky team to play night in and night out in the Big Ten, but their ceiling is limited by their lack of dynamic individual offensive players and overall athleticism, which makes them right on the bubble line for me to get into the NCAA tournament. At number 13 is Maryland, and the Terrapins are beginning year one of the Buzz Williams era in College Park, which should bring a new identity that's based on toughness and relentless physicality. The Terrapins' frontcourt of Elijah Saunders, Solomon Washington, and Pharrell Payne is one of the Big Ten's most bruising trios and will set the tone inside. But the key question for this team is whether the backcourt can keep up. Miles Rice will be asked to run the offense, while highly touted freshman Darius Adams could become the team's breakout star. but Maryland has already had some setbacks in the offseason with injuries to both Rakeese Passmore and Solomon Washington, but Maryland's defense and rebounding give them a sturdy foundation. And Buzz's proven formula should translate to the Big Ten, and the Terrapins will be right back into the NCAA tournament contention. USC is ranked at number 12 and is entering year 2 under Eric Musselman, which feels like a pivotal season for the Trojans. After last season's disappointing 17-win campaign, USC has reloaded with a massive 10-player transfer class highlighted by Maryland's Rodney Rice and Auburn's Chad Baker-Mazara, who are both proven high-major scorers. The interior defense was a glaring weakness last year for the Trojans, but should dramatically improve thanks to additions like 7'5" Gabe Dines and versatile forward Amarion Dickerson. Unfortunately though, a preseason knee injury to 5-star freshman Elijah Arenas hurts the offensive upside early, but still, the talent level is undeniable on this roster, and the defense should be much improved, and the question will be Eric Musselman can find the right lineup combinations to go to, and if the pieces mesh, the Trojans return to the NCAA tournament, but if not, the volatility could lead them to another disappointing year. At number 11, I have Washington, and the Huskies might be one of the most underrated teams in the Big Ten this season. Danny Sprinkle reloaded his roster with 2 former conference players of the year in Jacob Ignacevich from Lipscomb and Komari Peterson from ETSU, plus USC's dynamic backcourt duo of Desmond Claude and Wesley Yates joined the Huskies as well, and the depth and versatility of this group is one of the best in the conference, with international freshman big man Hans Steinbuck already turning heads as a potential breakout star, and after a disappointing debut season for Sprinkle, the Huskies now have the firepower and balance to bounce back in a major way, and overall, the roster pieces fit better, the talent is deeper, and the ceiling is much higher, and Washington looks like a pretty safe bet to make it into the NCAA tournament. And coming in at number 10 is Ohio State, who returns as much talent as anyone in the Big Ten. The Buckeyes brought back their top 3 scorers from last year in Bruce Thornton, Devin Royal, and John Mobley Jr., and also added Horizon League star Brandon Noel to boost the front court. And Thornton is one of the nation's most efficient league guards, while Mobley is one of the best shooters in the entire conference, and Royal's inside-out versatility should give this offense even more firepower. But the question for Ohio State is defense, and last year the Buckeyes ranked near the bottom of the league in clutch time stops. But Jake Diebler has now had a full offseason to solve this issue and has a roster that should make the 2026 NCAA tournament. So how this season plays out should reveal if he should be the guy in Columbus long term. The Indiana Hoosiers come in at number 9 and are entering a brand new era under Darian DeVries, and the early returns look promising. The Hoosiers landed one of the nation's top transfer hauls, highlighted by 2 former conference players of the year in Tayton Connerway from Troy and Tucker DeVries from West Virginia, and add in elite scorer Lamar Wilkerson and skilled 6'10 forward Reed Bailey, and Indiana suddenly has one of the most potent offensive cores in the Big Ten. And I expect the Hoosiers to push the tempo and fire away from deep, which would be a massive shift from the Woodson era. And the offense looks like it will be one of the best in the conference, but how they play on the other end remains a real concern for me. But at the very least, it looks like Indiana basketball is headed in the right direction. At number 8 is the Iowa Hawkeyes, who entered the season under rising head coach Ben McCollum, and it's one of the most fascinating storylines in the Big Ten. McCollum is fresh off of leading Drake to the NCAA tournament and brings his star point guard and Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year Bennett Sturts with him to Iowa City. And the Hawkeyes also added Alvaro Falgueras, the Horizon League's Player of the Year from the transfer portal, which forms a dynamic inside-out combo that's tailor-made for McCollum's motion-heavy offense. And Iowa's lack of size and athleticism could cap their ceiling, but Sturts' leadership and McCollum's coaching give this team a strong floor and makes me just that much more confident in them. And the Hawkeyes might just dance again this March and could even be a surprise contender in the Big Ten. Next at number 7 is Wisconsin, and the Badgers remain one of the Big Ten's most well-oiled machines, and this season looks to be no different. Wisconsin returns last year's breakout guard John Blackwell, who looks ready to take on a lead scoring role, while San Diego State transfer Nick Boyd gives Blackwell a nice sidekick in the backcourt. And up front, Nolan Winter and Portland transfer Austin Rapp form a frontcourt that can stretch the floor and open up the offense, which is a key part of Greg Gard's evolving system. And despite losing star guard John Tanji to the NBA, Wisconsin's offense remains lethal, and the principles that made Wisconsin so efficient last season remain intact, and it will be their defense that will ultimately dictate their ceiling. But if Winter emerges as a two-way force and the role players contribute like usual, Wisconsin has the capability to contend near the top of the Big Ten. Coming in at number 6 is Oregon, and Dana Altman has 2 legitimate stars on his roster leading the way. All Big Ten standouts Jackson Shelstad and Nate Biddle give the Ducks elite continuity at point guard and center positions and are a pairing that most programs would dream of having. Biddle should contend for All-American honors after averaging 14-7 last season, while Shelstad's growth as a lead guard could push Oregon's offense to new heights. However, around them is a supporting cast that is a little less certain. There's former 5-star Sean Stewart, who headlines the group of newcomers and is looking to complement the star duo, while Kwame Evans Jr. could finally take a leap as a breakout wing. But the Ducks' top-end talent ensures a high floor, but the depth and consistency will dictate whether they can jump from a solid NCAA tournament team to a legitimate Big Ten contender. At number 6 is Tom Izzo and the Michigan State Spartans, and even after losing its top 3 scorers from last season, Tom Izzo's group has enough continuity to stay competitive this year. Jeremy Fears is the tone setter and a defensive menace who could challenge for Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, while Cohen Carr might be the most explosive athlete in college basketball and should be ready for another breakout year. And in the paint, you have Jackson Kohler and Carson Cooper, who will once again anchor one of the league's most physical front courts. But the big question is offense, and with limited guard depth and Florida Atlantic transfer Caleb Glenn out for the season, consistent shot creation could be hard to come by, but they did add Samford transfer Trey Fort to help with that. And still, Michigan State's defensive identity will make them a nightmare matchup, and if Izzo's offense clicks even a little, the Spartans could win the Big Ten once again. Illinois comes in at number 4 and looks dangerous heading into the 2026 season. The Illini return 2 cornerstones in Kylan Boswell, who is one of the Big Ten's best 2A guards, and dominant big man Tomislav Ivicic, who ranks among the nation's elite. Adding Cal transfer Andrea Stojakovic, who averaged 18 points per game in the ACC last season, and this offense could be lethal. And Brad Underwood has also fully embraced the international flair, adding in Mahalo Petrovic and David Mirkovic on the roster. And the Illini want to play faster this year, and with the personnel they have the firepower to do it. And the only real question is whether their defense can hold up, but if Illinois can be even average on that end, they're a top 10 to 15 team nationally in my opinion. At number 3 is UCLA, and the Bruins look poised for a major leap this season. UCLA brings back their top scorer from last year in Tyler Bilodeau, while adding the reigning Mountain West Player of the Year Donovan Dent from the transfer portal, which will completely transform their backcourt. Dent's burst and playmaking elevate UCLA's offense to another level, which is something the team lacked a year ago, and Sky Clark and Eric Daly Jr. also return for the Bruins, and Mick Cronin's Big Four gives UCLA one of the most balanced cores in the entire Big Ten. And Bilodeau and Daly will provide interior toughness and scoring versatility, while Dent brings All-American upside at point guard, and Cronin's defense will still be elite, which is a given, but now he finally has the offensive horsepower to match it, and UCLA is a dark horse Final Four team and has the talent to challenge the top of the conference. Coming in at number 2 is Michigan, which is another team that looks absolutely loaded entering the season, and Dusty May's squad might have the most dominant front court in the nation, led by 2-time AAC Defensive Player of the Year Yaxel Lindenborg, alongside Illinois transfer Merez Johnson and 7'3" UCLA transfer Ade Mara. And May also added elite AACC playmaker Elliot Cadeau from North Carolina and returning scorers Roddy Gale Jr. and Namari Burnett. And May and the Wolverines will have a bruising, rim-dominant style that controls the glass and pushes in transition, and Michigan could realistically play all 3 bigs together, overwhelming other teams inside. But if this backcourt gels, the Wolverines have Final Four potential and might be the only team in the Big Ten capable of pushing Purdue for the conference crown. And coming in as the number 1 team in the Big Ten is Purdue, and the Boilermakers enter the season as not just the Big Ten favorite, but a legitimate national title frontrunner. The Boilermakers return 2 All-Big Ten stars in Trey Kaufman-Renn and Braden Smith, and Smith is coming off of an All-American campaign and is the engine behind one of college basketball's most efficient offenses. Matt Painter also reloaded by adding South Dakota State transfer Oscar Clough, who is one of the best rebounders and interior defenders in the nation, which should help fix Purdue's biggest weakness from last season. Sharpshooter Fletcher Lawyer also returns in the backcourt, and international freshman Omir Mayer could be in for a huge season as well. And Purdue's balance is elite, and with Smith, Kaufman-Renn, and Lawyer back for one last ride, the Boilermakers' floor is sky high, and this might finally be the year that Painter delivers that elusive national championship for Purdue. And I also wanted to quickly go over my preseason predictions for the Big Ten Awards. And for Player of the Year, I have Braden Smith from Purdue. And Smith is the ultimate floor general, orchestrating Purdue's high-octane offense with vision, craft, and unshakable confidence. His three-point accuracy, mid-range pull-ups, and baseline fadeaways make him nearly unguardable, while defensively he generates turnovers with ease. And he's a 4-year veteran, and Smith could cement his legacy among college basketball's all-time elite point guards this season. For Freshman of the Year, I'm actually going with Caden Mingo from Penn State. And Penn State's Caden Mingo is a 3-level scoring guard with elite playmaking and lockdown defensive potential. He's expected to carry the highest usage rate among Big Ten rookies, and Mingo fits seamlessly into Mike Rhoades' system, providing instant offensive firepower and defensive intensity, and he could quickly replace Ace Baldwin as the team's dynamic leader. For Newcomer of the Year, I have Bennett Sturts from Iowa, and Sturts is the engine behind Iowa's offense, seamlessly translating his Drake success under Coach McCollum to the Big Ten. He's a do-it-all lead guard that excels creating shots in high-pressure moments and distributing effectively. His combination of court vision, clutch scoring, and experience makes him an immediate impact player in Iowa City. For Defensive Player of the Year, I went with Yaxel Lindenborg from Michigan, and Lindenborg transforms Michigan defensively as a versatile do-it-all forward. His size, athleticism, and anticipation allow him to guard multiple positions, dominate rebounds, and generate transition points, and Lindenborg's presence on both ends elevates Michigan's two-way efficiency, making him the cornerstone of a defense that could be elite in the Big Ten. And finally, for Coach of the Year, I'm going with Matt Painter from Purdue. And Matt Painter has redefined Purdue post-Zach Edey, reshaping the offense around Braden Smith while bolstering interior defense with Daniel Jacobson and Oscar Clough. And with elite continuity this season, senior leadership, and a top-tier offensive system, Painter positions the Boilermakers as Big Ten and national title contenders. And that wraps it up for today's video. Let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are on my preseason Big Ten rankings. Was there a team that I ranked way too high or way too low? Also, if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, and make sure and stay tuned for more college basketball content. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.